So yeah, not done a video for a while, or I don't really do them as often these days because I ended up breaking my old phone where, to be honest with you, I got frustrated with it and ended up chucking it on the floor and smashing it up really. So that's one reason, and ended up getting I was given my mum's older phone, which was like a Motorola, and it was just not usable. It was useless, where it just wouldn't. It was very slow, and it would turn off on its own, so it was just not usable. And that last video I made, it ended up cutting the recording halfway through, so that was no good. But now I've got myself a new phone. I've got myself the iPhone 16e, which is quite a decent phone at the minute. So maybe these videos could come back on track. Well, yeah, I think ultimately thought I'd make this video to test the quality out of this phone, and I feel like getting something on my chest, and I think I might just talk something a bit random, something I might have talked about before, and I think I'm going to talk about Aspergers is probably a worse condition than you think, where it's more brutal than you think. Like I've definitely probably talked about this before, and the reasons for that is don't know whether this would be a bit too spicy for the YouTube algorithm, but I feel like maybe take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, but because I think there's probably, I think I might be have a point with what I'm saying, but I don't know if it's 100% proven. But I think it's mostly proven where I feel like Asperger's is, from my personal experience, feels like slow suicide, where it's basically a condition that affects your life where it feels like you're kind of slowly killing yourself, it feels. And my reason for that is Asperger's. One of the core problems with Asperger's that you get is that you'll struggle with loneliness and isolation where you don't have any friends, so you end up staying in, not getting any exercise, you end up getting depressed, you end up eating a shitload of junk food and putting on weight. At the minute, I've got a fizzy drink addiction, and I think that kind of puts on weight. And so you end up just staying in and getting fat, really. Not everyone, but coming from my personal experience, that seems to be the case where. I don't know, I've been talking to like AI, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I put like I put a picture up of myself on it, and it basically said that you're obese, you carry weight around your stomach area, and I kind of thought, didn't really think that I was obese. I knew I was overweight, but I wasn't sure if I was obese or not. And apparently that says I am, but I don't know if I am. But according to AI, I'm obese, and obviously when you hear stuff like that, something needs to change, something needs to improve, which is obviously not easy. And talking to that recently, it kind of mentions that a huge reason for that is possibly because of Asperger's, and so that kind of confirms to me that it's kind of slow suicide, in my opinion, which I mentioned, and where Asperger's, I think due to Asperger's, you can't really manage dieting as well, where due to like fizzy drinks and sugar and even junk food, you need that dopamine hit, and I think that's the causes of it. And when you struggle with social isolation and loneliness, that is more of a drive to try and get a dopamine hit, and the easiest way of doing that is eating junk food and drinking fizzy drinks, basically. So that's one reason for that, where I think it's basically, I feel like Asperger's is basically killing me, in my opinion. Sounds a bit dramatic, but if that's the case, it's probably true. And things like, I don't know, I heard something like depression's supposed to be the equivalent of smoking 100 cigarettes a day, and obviously that's not going to do any good to your health and your body and your mind. Might cause like dementia eventually, where you might develop dementia as early as your 50s potentially, which is a scary thought. And stuff, I'm not factually correct, but there's been sort of data and statistics where people have said people die young who are on the autism spectrum and who have Asperger's because potentially because of stress and loneliness, where that fucks your body up like what I've described before. It's kind of to be proven to be doing that. So it just fucks your body up, it fucks your mind up, and it's probably more brutal than people realise. And I guess just the sort of stuff I'm describing is kind of the proof in the pudding, if you can call it that, where it is a slow killer, it kills people, and the social isolation is probably the most brutal part of it, where it really does rub the salt in the wounds, I'd say, coming from me personally anyway. And coming to social isolation and friends, where it comes to dating and relationships, I'd say not always, but more than likely, Asperger's and autism is basically a death sentence to dating and relationships, and so all that kind of stuff, where I'm probably living that reality. And the brutal reality is it's because obviously they have the social struggles with reading the room, or coming from me personally, saying the wrong things, coming out with something weird, and women usually get icked out easily. They find men icky quite easily, even for not much things at all, just for saying the wrong thing, coming out with something cringy, coming out with something weird. And I feel like I've done that plenty of times. I feel like I might have potentially icked some girl out today. No, something I fucking said. And the harsh reality is it puts people off, and it's a very cold, isolating world where people don't really understand you, or they're icked out. And I guess that leads to the negative thoughts, where I feel like I just naturally come out with negative, pessimistic stuff, which might, don't know, put people off, make people become distant from you and stuff, without realising how bad I am with that, being negative. For this, with these videos, that's a personal space where I can be negative. I can just be myself, take the mask off, just say what I think, be as raw as anything, because some people might think I'm negative with these videos, but this is just a safe space for me to let that sort of energy out, I guess. And ultimately, it puts people off, it makes people distant, and I'm probably thinking about it, I probably realise no wonder I've struggled with relationships and dating and having friends, because I've probably been a bit too negative in life, you know what I mean? I don't really want to be negative, but I think a lot of negative stuff has happened now. If you've like listened to me other videos now, of family issues, school issues, my mum being sectioned, my dad being a dick, me being sectioned, being arrested, and all that. A lot of bad, negative stuff has happened, and I don't really want to try and be the victim or try and fish for people to feel sorry for me, but that's kind of the harsh reality of it. I guess it just naturally comes out without me thinking. But also, I might shit to myself because I went a way of seeing it as though that's a British thing to do, know where people talk shit about themselves, where I probably don't mean it, but it might not translate so well to other people, where someone commented, "Oh, you're too negative." Oh, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? And I guess ultimately that might, don't know, make her become distant eventually, which I don't really want. It's not what I need in life. But possibly with what I've described Asperger's as, brutally, really, it's probably more brutal than you can imagine, where it steals your life away, it steals any sort of hope in life, you know, where you just, it stops any love life, and it stops having a social life, which just ultimately fucking breaks you inside and out, destroys you, which I've made a video about previously. And something needs to change about that, and I don't know if I'm getting the right support to actually change what, but that's just how it is. Don't know if I've got anything else to say on that really, but that's just my honest thoughts on that. Like, I don't know if it's 100% true, because I think there's people with Asperger's that do have a love life and probably do well in the dating market, where I think I've learned somebody who used to go to school with who has Asperger's is recently is about to become a dad, so that kind of proves to me maybe it's not, I don't know, hopeless, where there might be a bit of light at the end of the tunnel with that. But that's how it is at the minute. Yeah, I think that's it for now. Goodbye.